Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO legend and paranormal lore. Welcome back. Welcome back. It ain't easy. Living free with these aliens, baby. That's right. The aliens are all around us interdimensionally, in the skies, in the galaxy, and in the ether. And sometimes they're even an octopus. As in this story today, we're going to bring to you the Hudson Valley alien encounters of the 1980s, specifically from 1982 to 1986. There was many abduction encounters or alien encounters or ship encounters that we could talk about the different shapes and everything about. But one woman in particular talks about her abduction encounters that started when she was 4 years old and went all the way up until she was an adult. And this alien told her that he was God, or she was God. And we want to find out exactly why the hell would this alien ever tell any alien species that's a living biological entity ever say it's God, right? Come on, that's really pushing it, isn't it? That's pushing it. That's like saying I'm God. I'm not God. I didn't make everybody, and this thing didn't make everybody. But maybe, just maybe, this thing was cutting people up and DNA experimenting and creating entities on its ship, and maybe that's why it said it was God. Maybe, just maybe. But you have to listen to the podcast to find out. So, listening in. That's right. So, as a human species, we're on. That's right, baby. All right, so you're like, all right, Lockdown, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this one. Well, you got it, baby. I'm going to serve it up to you on a silver platter. You don't worry about nothing. Big Daddy's got you, and we're going to put it up here. So check out this very, very interesting story. We'll examine it, and then we'll examine a couple other videos about the Hudson Valley alien encounters of the early 1980s, 82 to 86 precisely. So check this out. Really interesting stuff, and then we'll go from there. So let's pull this on up. I think she doesn't say her name, but it's on the Discovery Channel, so I thought that was really, it's a show called Alien Encounters. So let's listen in. Let's listen into her story. I find her believable, so let's check her out, okay? Let's bring this in here. And
My name is Rachel Hoffman.
Oh, Rachel Hoffman, there you go.
I think I was abducted by aliens 7 times since 1984. I'm the mother of 4 children, and I live in Hudson Valley. I was 4 years old the first time that I was abducted. I'm one of 4 children at the time, and we were all sleeping in the same bed together, and I was on the edge of the bed when I felt something lifting me up. I felt gravity with my hair falling backwards and my nightgown falling backwards as I was taken out of a window and brought up into the vessel. The ship, it was so cold. I was freezing. Every hair on my body was standing up. I don't think I was supposed to see what I saw. The room had tables, and the tables had hands and feet, arms and legs that didn't have bodies attached to them. Next to that,
Say what?
There were embryos. I also saw a fetus in a jar. I was 4 years old, and the fetus was as big as me.
Oh, hold up a second. She's saying that she was on a ship with arms and feet and legs and hands that were not attached to human bodies. WTF, brother? WTF? Come on now, you're going to be scared as hell. All right. And she saw a fetus that was in a jar that was as big as her that was 4 years old, when she was 4 years old. So was this fetus just a large fetus, the size of a 4-year-old human? Was it a hybrid? Well, let's find out more.
It looked like an experiment gone wrong. When they had me on the table, they were doing ultrasounds on my abdomen. They were poking and prodding. They were taking bits and pieces of me. They were robbing my body parts, and they were taking my eggs. I remember thinking to myself, I just want my dad. I just want my dad. And then I woke up. When I was 6 years old, I saw an arm above me of a robot with a needle in it. And the needle came down and began to extract fluid from the center of my nose. When the needle went in, it felt like it went straight through my bone into my brain. Each time this was done to me, I didn't even blink, and I never closed my eyes. As the needle went back up into the ceiling of the ship, I was picked up by the alien that brought me back and forth. I used to call him the butler. The butler looked like an octopus out of water. They have hands with suction cups. That's what holds them to the ship. The last time that I was abducted, I was 13 years old, and I said, "Who are you, and what do you want from me?" It was the loudest voice I've ever heard. And it said, "I'm God."
What? All right, and that's the end of the video, so I'm not cutting her off. So, hold the fucking phone here a second. All right, we got a lot going on in this one, okay? We got an alien abduction that started when she was 4 years old in the Hudson Valley area, which, if you don't know, is in New York. Now, she's saying this motherfucker came back bunches of times and abducted her. Took fluid right out of her nose, right out of the center of her nose, which is the frontal lobe, which is the decision-making process. Also, the pituitary gland is right in through the nose. I know because I have a personal family member that had a pituitary gland surgery and had a cyst taken out, and it was extremely traumatic. And they go up through the nose. Now, what the hell else did she say? She said she was on a ship with some body parts. Why the hell does this thing, Jeffrey Dahmer and humans, and just having body parts laying around? Jesus Christ, talk about the messiest lab conditions you could imagine. Hey, hey, human, here, just let me plop you down. Oh, don't worry about them hands and them arms. But you got to imagine that it was creating some sort of hybrid being, right? You hope it's not just chopping it up for tonight's dinner and going to cook it on the old barbecue, right? Put some pineapples on that thing. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about a species that has continually abducted her, is not the Greys. I think that's one of the most important things. That's why I do this podcast. I'm trying to find stories that are either conspiratorial or so strange, extraterrestrial, that we got to talk about it. We got to review it and see if it's real, see if it's not. If it's not, it's okay. If it's real, then it's like, holy shit, this is a brand new species we've never heard of. But we know that octopuses on our planet are very intelligent. You can put them into a jar and they can spin the jar lid off and get out. If you can put them right next to a hole and they can be a huge octopus and they can squeeze their body into this hole, they're highly intelligent. They don't speak English. Lots of people don't, but these things are intelligent. Now, if they just happen to develop on another planet and created their own intelligence, yeah, absolutely, they could create some sort of spaceship, especially with all those suction cups and shit. You don't need an opposable thumb for that shit. You got a huge-ass tentacle with all these freaking crazy-ass suction cups on it. You can create shit with that. Suction cup this, suction cup that, manipulate this. But what I think was really interesting was she never really worried about this alien. She always said, "Hey, it's the butler. The butler is my friend, and it's just always taking me from point A to point B." Also interesting, she had 4 siblings. She didn't mention that they were getting abducted. Just her. Okay. Were they abducted? Should they go under hypnotic regression? Find out what happened to them? That would be nice to know. But she doesn't make any mention of that. And then, last but not least, she says, at 13 or something, she gets abducted or something like that. She asks him, she said, "What do you want from me?" And he says, "I'm God." So what does God do? God is the creator, right? God is the creator. God is the creator of all. So he's saying he's God. He's saying his octopus ass is God. Have we heard of God being an octopus? No. We've heard of humans coming down being the sons of God in multiple religions, right? We've heard of, aliens looking bizarre, but we haven't heard a lot of octopus talk in ufology. The only person I know of that's come out and talked about octopus aliens or aliens resembling octopus is Randy Kramer, who was part of the intergalactic, or whatever you want to call it, Space Force, Marine Force. Went out and battled aliens on Mars and was part of the 20 and Back program. Seems very legit. Seems very honest. Seems very knowledgeable. Talked about seeing this octopus-like species on the intergalactic, the ICC, and it's a commerce base that's outside of Jupiter. It's big base. They do commerce, they do business deals, and when you go there, you see 50-foot tall giants, and you see octopuses inside of a water tank, and they're all communicating telepathically, most of them, and they're doing business. This one doesn't seem to be in a water tank. She specifically said that it was outside, or it looked like an octopus that was outside of a water tank. Now, she's not the only one. There's many people during the 1982 to 1986 timeline in the Hudson Valley that saw multiple alien ships hovering over, talking about them, and reporting them. There was a police officer who was anonymous, and I have a video up on YouTube. It's called the Hudson Valley UFO Sightings from 1982 to 1986. He states that he saw this craft right here, and show you right here. Let me expand this up a little bit here. Take a look at this craft. Okay, he's right here. This craft looks like it's Christmas lights. It's got green, red, green, and white. Okay, now he said it made a faint hum. It moved at a gentle walking pace. He said his whole family saw it, and it occurred on July 31st of 1982, I believe he said. It was, I'm sorry, not July. We're in July. It was in December 31st of 1982. Then we have a Mr. Hansen who was also driving in the Hudson Valley, and he stopped on the side of the road, and he stated that he saw this craft as well. Same night, same time period. It was a boomerang-shaped formation of lights and projected a light beam onto the ground. It was so large that it filled the sky in front of him, and it made slow, tight circles in the air. He stated that, he thought he'd like to get a closer look, so he drove into that direction. But he panicked as he approached, and he heard a voice in his head say everything was going to be all right. He heard a voice in his head saying everything's going to be all right. That's what they always say, isn't it? And so he continued driving, and then he felt like his thoughts weren't his own. He believed that he had received telepathic communication from the UFO. And you can see how that might make people believe that they're psychotic, right? Because that's kind of what the symptoms of psychosis are. You start feeling like you're hearing thoughts of other people or other entities. But really, it could be an alien. Many other witnesses reported similar communications for the next few years. This is what they called the first wave. They felt like a UFO also might have read their minds. This was throughout the entire Hudson Valley. 2 months later, on February 22nd, 1982, Monique O'Driscoll and her daughter followed a lighted object down several miles of a country road, and they watched it pass over their car. They stated that when it stopped to hover over a frozen lake, Monique got out and watched it outside of her car. Take a look at this picture. Very similar to the other one, but really cool rainbow boomerang there. That's really cool. That's her standing by her car, and there's a pond there. That is a really cool looking boomerang UFO. The object had 50 red, blue, and amber lights, a large amber light in the middle. A lot of people are going to say, blah, 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 this is the TR-3B, this is our own ship. Well, who the fuck knows? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Until some people come jumping out of that ship, I don't know. She stated it was 90 meters across, perfectly silent. The underside was lined with metal beams and crisscross supports, like the underside of a bridge. Now, Stephen Greer stated that ships that show some sort of support beams underneath are our own ships. They are replica ships. They are ships that are used for alien abduction replication, to freak people out or to put them into a state of concern for aliens to initiate a future war. I don't know if I believe him. Although it began to turn away, she stated, at the exact moment she wished for it to stay, it flew back towards her. Then it retreated when she got scared. It was almost like it could tell her emotions. There were several witnesses nearby who saw the same object at the exact same time and later when it crossed over the I-84 highway. Police in Kent and Carmel, New York, as well as Danbury, Connecticut, received a flood of calls of UFOs that night. Okay? Not just her, not just the other guy, a flood. The sightings resumed the very next spring. Just a few months later, on the evening of March 17, 1983, a woman in Brewster, New York, saw a V-shaped object with numerous lights and colors. Take a look at this guy. What does that look like? The exact same ship. Beautiful ship. Basically a rainbow boomerang. I love it. Beautiful. You know I love colors. You can see them behind me. It was arranged along their wings, one large light in the center and the front, and it was coming towards her. It made a sharp turn and flew 2 doors down to the home of Dennis Stant, the deputy clerk for Putnam County. Sant had seen the object hovering over his yard earlier that night and confessed he had a strong urge to look at it outside. He's actually talking right now. Let's put him on tape. Let's see what he's saying here. Come on, boy. Speak up.
He found it hovering over the I-84, then ran inside to get his family. As soon as he wished that he could get a closer look, it rotated in his direction, then floated towards him and stopped about 12 meters away.
They only had a picture of him.
40 meters long and more than 100 meters wide.
So they said the object was 40 meters long, 100 meters wide, had red and green white lights along the sides and an amber light that swept from one end of the V to the other. They only had a picture of the guy. He wasn't talking. Yeah, well, it was a video, but they have voiceover. So they stated it hovered there, and the father was so close to it that he could see a dark metal surface, and he could hear a finely tuned engine sound. Now, that's what Greer also said. He said Greer stated that if you could hear a hum or some kind of sound, that it was our ships. If it was completely silent, it may be one of theirs. Whether you believe it or not, that's fine too. The following week, on March 24th, there was another wave that happened, mostly in Yorktown. And all of these events, this was 1983, many of the witnesses were Yorktown police officers who admitted that on their switchboards they had been flooded with their calls of a large boomerang ship with red, blue, and green lights. Isn't this interesting? You don't hear our parents talking about this stuff to us when we were kids. Man, this would have been interesting information to have. Of course, we didn't have the internet, so they couldn't really pull it up on the internet, right? And we were subjected to shows and things like that, unfortunately. And not all the shows had great graphics, okay? But they all stated that they saw these ships, and one of the ships was as large as a football field, they stated. A meteorologist saw an asymmetrical V-shaped object that was about 400 meters long. Well, that's like 4 football ships. And the object descended to about 600 to 300 meters in altitude and slowed as it approached. Could you imagine if a freaking octopus just dropped out of the fucking thing on a beam and just been like, hey, what's cracking? And the guy would be like, oh, you better hope you didn't eat some squid that night, my friend, or, what do they call it, calamari or nothing like that, because they might not like that so much. But they saw that this shape changed colors many different times. It was as if it was lit by a rotating prism. A lot of these, and then it just blinked out, like it disappeared. A lot of these ships are powered by crystals, so you can imagine these crystals would look like they're rotating, lights. The lights that he stated, this meteorologist stated, reappeared 30 to 40 seconds later, and a few seconds after that, the object turned north and flew away, and the lights changed into a slime green. You wonder if that's just a power of the light pulled up. But people as many as 15 miles away saw similar objects as well. So basically, to wrap it up, this thing was everywhere. Look at this, though. This one even looks even different. This one is a almost looks like the Phoenix Lights one, but has many lights underneath. Red, alternating red rose, white rose, and yellow rose. Even a couple of green ones over here. And could these be multiple ships? Could these been ships that might have been from different species that might have had a conflict in the area? Maybe they were trying to show their dominance. Maybe they were looking for someone. Maybe they were looking for a criminal. Maybe they were looking for warheads. Maybe they were trying to find some sort of, I don't know, Stargate. Who knows? Maybe they were looking for our bases. These are the questions. But they obviously were looking for people to abduct as well at the same time. So there was an investigation done. There was investigation done by the Rockland Daily News as well as the North County News, and many of these papers did a pretty good job. They brought in amateur UFO investigators like Philip Imbrogno. They also brought in J. Allen Hynek, as you well know, consultant to the Air Force Blue Book, and they engaged CUFO, Center for UFO Studies. So there's a lot to this. It keeps going on and on and on, but I think it lends credence to our first witness's story that happened in the early 80s, where she was getting abducted. These guys were getting 300 calls a night on the 24th. Look at this ship. This is another one that they saw. Looks pretty similar. Actually, this looks like a stealth bomber, man. Kind of interesting. It didn't have a bunch of different colored lights on it like the other ones did. But you can see that these ships have a very similar characteristics in their shape, very boomerang, very multicolored, moving slow, quiet, may have a light coming out of it and interacting with people's behavior and maybe abducting. Were these all octopus species related ships? Were these some of our own ships that we were defending Earth against these octopus-like aliens from abducting our people? Maybe, maybe not. She didn't state, did she state what color or size the ship was? Let's go back to her video. I just want to see if she had, I don't think she stated that it was a circle or a boomerang, but let me just double check. I might be wrong. No, she never saw the outside of the craft. She felt herself being lifted up into a craft. She saw the alien creature. She saw the robotic needle going in, but she never saw the outside of the craft. Now, if she was going under hypnotic regression, maybe we could gather some more info from her. But definitely a good witness. Definitely a good witness. So, what do you think? And again, let's just bring her name up here so I don't forget it.
My name is Rachel Hoffman.
Rachel Hoffman. Okay, so if you want to look her up, take a look at her. Lovely, lovely lady. This is probably at least 10 years old, if not like 15 years old. So she would have been in the right time frame for getting abducted in the early 80s. She would have been young. So, do you know anybody in the Hudson Valley that got abducted in the early to mid 80s, 82 to 86? Do you know what was going on in 82 and 86? Your boy Billy Idol was doing the UK invasion, the English invasion everywhere. So he's kind of like an alien. But nonetheless, I think this is a story that we could probably do a lot more on. My podcasts are generally short in nature. I don't like to do them for like 30 minutes because I feel like that's too long for a lot of people. But I think we delved into the fact that something real happened in the Hudson Valley in the early to mid 80s. And it happened for a long time. It happened for 4 years. Flaps usually only happen for like a few months. So something was happening in the Hudson Valley. Whether there was a military base threat, whether there was another alien species threat, whether there was, just a species that was abducting people along the Hudson Valley because of a certain genetic capability. What happened in the ship that she was in? Why were there human body parts just strewn about? It makes no sense to me, unless they're just trying to make a Frankenstein human. I don't get why you'd have a bunch of chopped up arms and legs in the ship. That's just terrifying in its own right. So, we'll leave it at that, man. check it out. Check it out. You know, again, right? You know, we'll bring her up.
My name is Rachel Hoffman.
Rachel Hoffman. If you want to check her out, Discovery Channel. It's on YouTube, or well, it's on Facebook right now. I'm sure it's on YouTube, but it's a short story. I was trying to look for like a longer one. I just couldn't see it. So maybe it might be worth a longer look. So I tried to do a quick search, real quick. I paused the video, and I could not find anything else on Rachel Hoffman. Maybe she was just doing an interview on Discovery, and that's it. She didn't want anything else out, or she didn't want to, have time to put anything else out. She just wanted her story to be out. And hey, if you're on one show, that's probably good enough back in the day. Because if this is as old as I think it was, social media wasn't really that big of a deal. People weren't writing things about themselves too much on the social media. So, anywho, man, more stories keep popping up, and we're going to keep bringing them to you. So I hope you guys have a great week. Think about some octopus aliens, and might give you some night terrors. And I hope you guys take care of yourselves physically, spiritually, emotionally. Follow through on your hobbies and your goals and your dreams. And as always, continue to question the universe around you. And like, follow, share, subscribe, man. Help us out. Help us brother out. Come on now. And as always, we love you guys. Like, follow, share, subscribe. Locked on Universe out. Peace.